The human expedition had been warned 3 times before landing on the planet. The first warning came from the Galactic Survey archives. The second came from the alien guides who refused to step beyond the landing zone. The third came from the silence itself, the kind of silence that pressed against the mind and made even trained soldiers uneasy. This world had no official name. On maps, it was marked only with a red sigil and a single line of text: Forbidden, Planetary Covenant Active. Lieutenant Aaron Hale did not care much for warnings. He respected them, but he did not worship them. Humans had learned long ago that fear alone never built a future. Aaron moved carefully through the violet forest, his boots sinking slightly into soil that felt warm, almost alive. Bioluminescent plants glowed faintly around him, lighting the path with soft blues and greens. The air smelled sweet, like rain mixed with metal. He checked his wrist display again. No signal. His unit had vanished from the scanners nearly an hour ago. Either the planet interfered with communications, or something worse was happening. Aaron touched the small human emblem on his armor, not for luck, but for grounding. Humans survived by remembering who they were, even when the universe tried to erase them. He followed the sound of running water. The forest opened suddenly, as if the land itself had decided to reveal something sacred. At the center of a circular clearing lay a spring. The water shimmered with silver light, perfectly still despite flowing endlessly from the ground. The air around it felt heavier, charged like the moment before a storm breaks. Aaron knew instantly what he was looking at: the forbidden spring. Every intelligent species in known space told the same story, though details changed with culture and fear. The spring was alive. It was ancient. It belonged to something older than stars. Anyone who drank from it lost themselves, mind, body, and soul, claimed by the entity beneath the planet. No one had ever returned. Aaron swallowed. His throat burned. He had not realized how thirsty he was until now. His water supply was cracked. The last drop had spilled during his fall down a ravine earlier. His leg ached where the medgel had failed to fully seal the wound. Infection was already setting in. He could feel it. Logic told him to turn back. Survival instinct whispered the same. But humans were not built on instinct alone. Aaron knelt beside the spring. The surface reflected his face, tired, bruised, human. No glowing eyes, no divine mark, just a man far from home. "So this is it," he murmured. He remembered the alien commander who had briefed them. The way the being's multiple eyes had narrowed when humans asked why the spring was forbidden. "Because," the alien had said slowly, "it does not break you, it keeps you." Aaron dipped his fingers into the water, warm, comforting, not corrosive, not violent, inviting. A strange calm settled over him. The pain in his leg dulled. His racing thoughts slowed. For the first time since landing, the fear faded. That scared him more than anything. He hesitated, then laughed quietly at himself. "Typical," he said. "Humans cross half the galaxy just to be told, 'Don't touch.'" He drank. The world shattered. The water burned like fire and ice at the same time, flooding his mouth, his lungs, his veins. He collapsed forward, hands clawing at the ground as light exploded behind his eyes. The planet screamed, or maybe it breathed. Aaron felt himself falling, not downward but inward. Memories tore loose from his mind. Childhood laughter, battlefield screams, the smell of his mother's cooking, the weight of command, the faces of soldiers he could not save. Something reached for them, something vast, ancient. "Now you belong to me." The voice slid into his mind like silk wrapped around steel. It was low, intimate, and impossibly calm. Not loud, not commanding, confident, certain. Aaron gasped, choking on air that felt thicker than before. "No," he whispered, though he did not know who he was arguing with. "All who drink do," the voice replied, amused. "Your kind is no different." Images flooded his thoughts, cities reduced to dust, civilizations kneeling, beings of light and shadow bound in eternal service. He felt the weight of ages pressing against him, testing, measuring. The entity began to pull. It tried to unravel him, thread by thread. Aaron screamed, not in fear but in anger. His mind locked down, reflex born of human training and something deeper. He forced his thoughts inward, anchoring himself to simple truths. His name, his choices, his people. He remembered Earth skies filled with pollution and hope. He remembered humans standing against forces far stronger than themselves and refusing to vanish. The pull slowed. That surprised the entity. Interesting, the voice purred. You resist. Aaron struggled to his knees. His hands shook, but they were still his. I don't know what you are, he said through clenched teeth, but you don't get to decide who I belong to. Silence fell. Not empty silence, but attentive. The pressure increased, testing him again, harder this time. Pain flared through his nerves as power surged, trying to overwrite him. Aaron felt his consciousness bend, but not break. Humans were good at bending. They adapted. They endured. I didn't come here to kneel, he said, voice hoarse. And I didn't come here to be owned. The entity paused. No one had ever spoken back before. You drank willingly, the voice said slowly. That is consent. I drank to live, Aaron replied, not to surrender. The spring erupted with light. Energy surged through Aaron's body, rewriting cells, repairing damage, strengthening muscle and bone. His wound sealed completely. His heartbeat steadied. His senses sharpened until he could hear the forest breathing, feel the planet's deep rhythms beneath his feet. He staggered upright. Outside the clearing, alien observers watched in terror as impossible readings spiked across their instruments. The spring, dormant for millennia, was active again, and the human was still standing. You are not like the others, the entity admitted, curiosity threading its voice now. Your kind resists dissolution. Yeah, Aaron said, breathing hard. We're annoying like that. A soft, almost amused sensation brushed his mind. You amuse me. That's not reassuring. The presence wrapped around him, not tightly but deliberately. Not a chain but a claim waiting to be enforced. The bond is formed, it whispered, whether you accept it or not. Aaron clenched his fists, feeling power coil within him like a sleeping storm. He did not understand it. He did not trust it, but it was there. Then we're going to have a problem, he said quietly. The entity's attention sharpened. Explain. Aaron lifted his head, eyes reflecting the light of the spring. I don't belong to gods, he said. I don't belong to planets. And I don't belong to voices in my head. The silence stretched. Then, for the first time in its endless existence, the ancient consciousness did something unexpected. It listened. Far above, the galaxy held its breath. And somewhere deep within the planet, something old and powerful began to reconsider what it meant to claim a human. Part 2. 1600 words ka leko, or interesting hunachea, or third-person style, ma lekni ha, or simple basic English ka, or violated free hona chai, without short heading. The light from the spring slowly faded. But the presence did not leave. Aaron stood at the center of the clearing, breathing hard, his heart steady but heavy with something new. The forest no longer felt neutral. Every leaf, every root, every pulse in the soil felt aware of him. Not hostile, not friendly, watchful. The voice did not speak right away. That worried him. He tested his body carefully. His movements were smoother than before, lighter. The ache in his muscles was gone. His vision was sharper, colors clearer, as if the world had been wiped clean. He could hear water moving underground far beyond the spring and feel distant vibrations like a slow heartbeat. This is bad, he muttered. Definitely bad. The air shifted. You fear change, the voice said at last, calm and close. That is understandable. Aaron stiffened. Don't pretend you understand humans. A soft pressure touched his thoughts, not pushing, just brushing. Images appeared, fragments of long observation. The rise and fall of species. Wars fought over resources, over pride, over survival. Humans were there too in the later images. Small, loud, stubborn, refusing extinction again and again. I have watched your kind since you first left your cradle, the entity said. You spread quickly, you adapt, you break, yet you return. Aaron swallowed. So you've been spying on us. Observing, it corrected. You are noisy. Despite himself, Aaron almost smiled. Around the clearing, movement flickered. Shapes emerged between the trees, tall, slender alien forms with pale armor and glowing markings. Covenant wardens, the guardians of this world. Their weapons were raised. Great, Aaron sighed. The welcoming committee. The lead warden stepped forward, its voice amplified and cold. Human, step away from the spring. You are contaminated. Aaron did not move. The entity's attention sharpened instantly, like a predator noticing prey. They fear what they cannot bind, it whispered. They will try to erase you. Aaron felt a surge of power respond to that thought, eager, dangerous. He forced it down. I'm not your weapon, he said quietly, though he was not sure if he was speaking to the wardens or the voice. The wardens advanced. Aaron raised his hand slowly. I'm not hostile, I didn't attack anyone. You violated the covenant, the warden replied. The spring is not for mortals. Aaron laughed, a short, tired sound. Funny thing about humans. We've never been great at knowing our place. Energy crackled in the air as the wardens prepared to fire. The entity moved, not violently, not explosively. The ground trembled just enough to throw the wardens off balance. Vines erupted from the soil, wrapping around their legs and weapons, pinning them in place with precise control. No crushing force, no broken bones, just restraint. Aaron stared. I didn't do that. No, the voice agreed. I did. He felt the bond pulse between them, stronger now. Not a chain, but a bridge. You said you didn't control me, Aaron snapped. I do not, the entity replied, but I will not allow them to destroy what interests me. The wardens struggled, their calm cracking into fear. This is not possible, one of them hissed. It obeys no one. Aaron stepped forward, heart pounding. You're wrong, it doesn't obey me either. He looked down at his hands, faintly glowing with residual energy. And that's the problem. The entity watched him closely, not just his actions, but his intent. When Aaron did not strike the helpless wardens, did not command the power surging around him, something shifted. You choose restraint, it said slowly. Even now. Power without control is just another disaster, Aaron replied. Humans have made enough of those. The entity was silent for a long moment. Then it did something no bonded being had ever experienced before. It asked a question. Why do you resist claiming dominion when you can? Aaron thought of Earth, of history lessons full of wars and regret, of humans learning, slowly and painfully, that survival meant cooperation, not endless conquest. Because, he said, if I become what everyone fears, then they were right about us. The vines loosened. The wardens collapsed to the ground, stunned but alive. Leave, Aaron told them. Tell the Covenant I'm not their enemy. The lead warden looked at him with something close to awe and terror. You are worse, it said. You are free. They retreated into the forest, disappearing as quickly as they had arrived. The clearing fell quiet again. Aaron turned inward, feeling the entity's presence like a vast ocean behind a thin wall of glass. You still haven't answered me. Answered what? What you're going to do with me? A ripple of thought passed through the bond. Not anger, not hunger. Uncertainty. This bond was designed for submission, the entity admitted. You do not submit, you negotiate, you question, you influence. Aaron sat heavily on a nearby stone. Yeah, that's kind of our thing. Your emotions bleed through the link, the entity continued. They are disruptive, empathy, guilt, hope. I have not felt these in ages. Sorry about that, Aaron said dryly. Side effect of being human. You are changing me, the voice said. That made Aaron look up sharply. I didn't agree to that. Nor did I, the entity replied. Yet here we are. Far away, alarms echoed through Covenant space. Data streams lit up with impossible readings. The forbidden spring was no longer dormant. The planet itself had awakened. And at the center of it all stood one human, neither slave nor god, just human. Aaron exhaled slowly. Listen, I don't know how this ends, but if we're connected, really connected, then there are rules. Rules, the entity repeated, intrigued. No controlling me, no using me as a weapon, and no hurting innocent people through me. The presence considered this. You speak as if you have leverage. Aaron met the invisible gaze without flinching. You said it yourself, I'm not like the others. The bond pulsed again. Very well, the entity said at last. We will observe these boundaries. Aaron knew better than to trust it fully. Ancient beings did not change easily, but neither did humans. Above the planet, the galaxy began to whisper. Something forbidden had awakened, but it did not roar. It reasoned, and that terrified everyone far more. Part 3. 1600 words ka leko, or interesting hunachea, or third-person style, ma lekni ha, or simple basic English ka, or violated free hona chai. Without short heading, the covenant did not wait. Within hours, fleets gathered at the edge of the system. Warships shaped like spears of black crystal slid out of hyperspace one by one, forming a silent wall around the forbidden planet. To the galaxy, this was a containment operation. To the Covenant leaders, it was an execution waiting for permission. On the surface, Aaron felt it before he saw it. The sky dimmed, clouds pulling into tight spirals as energy moved through the atmosphere. The planet reacted like a living thing under threat, defensive, alert. They're here, Aaron said quietly. Yes, the entity replied. They fear loss of control more than extinction. Aaron stood near the spring, hands at his sides. The power within him stirred, restless, like a storm wanting release. He clenched his jaw and pushed it back. No, he muttered, not unless I choose. The entity noticed. You restrain yourself even now, it said. You could shatter their fleets before they fire. And then what? Aaron asked. I become exactly what they say I am. Silence. That question did not have an easy answer. The ground trembled as Covenant landing craft broke through the clouds, descending into the forests beyond the clearing. Thousands of soldiers deployed, wardens, enforcers, machines built to neutralize threats that broke cosmic law. They advanced in perfect formation. Aaron walked forward to meet them. The lead commander projected its voice across the clearing. Human Aaron Hale, you are designated a Class Omega anomaly. Step away from the spring and submit for termination. Aaron looked up at the sky, then down at the soldiers. You didn't even pretend there was another option. There is none, the commander said. You cannot be allowed to exist. The entity's presence surged, sharp and cold. They will not stop, it whispered. They never do. Aaron felt its anger, ancient, vast, ready to burn everything. He placed a hand against the stone beside the spring, grounding himself. No, he said again, not like this. The commander raised an arm, weapons charged. Aaron stepped forward. I won't fight you, he called out, but I won't kneel either. The first shot was fired. Time seemed to slow. The energy bolt froze in midair, trembling inches from Aaron's chest. The soldiers gasped as invisible force rippled outward, bending light and sound. Aaron had not raised his hand. The entity had reacted on instinct. I will not allow you to be erased, it said fiercely. Aaron closed his eyes. For a brief moment he let the bond open fully, not to take power but to share intent. He did not push. He invited. Images flowed through the connection. Earth cities, human children laughing. Soldiers helping civilians under fire. Doctors working through exhaustion. Humans failing, learning, trying again. Not perfection, persistence. The entity staggered. This defiance without domination, it murmured. This refusal to surrender identity. The frozen bolt dissolved into harmless light. Aaron opened his eyes. I'm still here, he said to the Covenant, and I'm not your enemy. The commander hesitated. That hesitation saved lives. Aaron raised his voice, letting it carry. You're afraid because this power doesn't obey you, but it doesn't obey me either. It listens. The soldiers shifted uneasily. You taught the galaxy that gods must be chained, Aaron continued. Humans learned something else. Power doesn't need chains, it needs responsibility. The entity listened closely, something like wonder spreading through its vast awareness. The Covenant commander snarled, "Enough! Fire!" Hundreds of weapons discharged at once. The world answered. The ground rose in waves, forming walls of stone and energy that absorbed the barrage. The forest bent, not breaking, shielding life instead of destroying it. Aaron stood at the center, untouched. He felt the strain now. The power pressed against him, testing his limits. He could end this quickly, one thought, one release. He refused. "Stop," he said, not shouting, not pleading, just stating a fact. The planet responded. The soldiers' weapons shut down simultaneously, systems overloaded. Ships in orbit lost synchronization, drifting out of formation. Panic rippled through the Covenant ranks. "You guide without commanding," the entity said in awe. "You influence without control." Aaron breathed heavily. "That's leadership. We mess it up a lot, but we keep trying." The commander fell to one knee, systems failing. What are you?" Aaron shook his head. "Just human." High above, Covenant leaders watched their perfect operation collapse, not through overwhelming force, but restraint. That terrified them more than annihilation ever could. The entity felt something else now, something new and unsettling: respect. "You have changed the nature of the bond," it admitted. "I was meant to shape you. Instead, you shape me." Aaron looked at the spring, its light steady now, calm. "Then maybe this doesn't end with one of us owning the other." "You propose coexistence," the entity said. "Yeah," Aaron replied, "with boundaries." The Covenant fleets began to withdraw, not defeated but shaken. For the first time, an anomaly had not been erased and had not become a tyrant. News spread across the galaxy like wildfire. A human had drunk from the forbidden spring, and the galaxy had survived. As the last ships vanished, the entity spoke softly, no longer a whisper of ownership. "I do not understand humans," it said. Aaron smiled faintly. "Neither do we." But somewhere deep within the planet, an ancient power accepted a truth it had never considered. Humans did not exist to be claimed. They existed to choose. And that made all the difference. Part 4. 1600 words ka leko, or interesting hunachea, or third-person style ma lekni ha, or simple basic English ka, or violated free hona chai without short heading. The galaxy did not calm down after the Covenant fleets withdrew. If anything, it grew louder. Messages flooded every known network. Reports contradicted each other. Some said the forbidden planet was now a weapon. Others said the ancient entity had been enslaved by a human. A few whispered something far more dangerous, that the bond had changed both sides. On the surface, Aaron felt the tension like static in the air. "They'll come back," he said quietly. "Yes," the entity replied, "but not only them." Aaron stood at the edge of the clearing, watching the forest sway gently. Life had returned to normal movement, but the planet itself remained alert. He could feel it through the bond, like a guardian holding its breath. "Other powers?" Aaron asked. "Older ones," the entity answered. "Those who shaped the early laws of existence. They will not ignore this." Aaron sighed. "Figures. Humans break one rule, and suddenly the universe calls a meeting." The entity did not respond with amusement this time. "They will demand resolution," it said. "A verdict. On me, on us." That was new. Aaron turned inward, focusing on the bond. It no longer felt like pressure or temptation. It felt balanced, still vast, still dangerous, but listening. "You said once that everyone who drank belonged to you," Aaron said. "Do you still believe that?" The presence was quiet for a long time. "I believed ownership was stability," it said at last. "Control prevented chaos. And now I see that choice creates something stronger." Aaron nodded. "Trust." The entity hesitated. "Something like it." The sky darkened, not with clouds but with shadow. Space itself bent, forming a wide SHIMMERING Chinese letter in the air above the clearing. Light folded inward and figures began to emerge. They were not ships. They were beings, Tall, radiant shapes made of energy and form, their outlines shifting as if reality struggled to define them. The architects, the ones even the Covenant obeyed. Aaron's heart pounded, but he did not move. The entity's presence grew tense. These are the lawbearers, it warned. They enforce cosmic balance. Well, Aaron muttered, no pressure. One of the beings spoke, its voice echoing inside every mind at once. Anomaly confirmed, it said. Bond deviation detected. Another added, human subject exhibits unauthorized symbiosis. Aaron stepped forward. Hey, he said, voice steady despite everything. If you're here to judge something, you should probably hear from the people involved. The lawbearers turned their attention to him. The weight of that focus was immense, like standing beneath a mountain. You are insignificant, one said. Your species is recent, fragile. Aaron smiled faintly. Yeah, we get that a lot. The entity stirred. They will try to separate us, it warned, violently. Aaron reached out, not physically but through the bond. No, he said, they won't, not unless we let them. The lawbearers extended threads of light toward the spring, attempting to isolate the ancient consciousness. The planet shook in protest. Aaron felt the pain instantly. Not his own, but the entity's. That's enough, he said sharply. Power surged, but this time it did not explode outward. It flowed through him, guided by intent rather than instinct. He stepped between the lawbearers and the spring. You want balance, Aaron said. Then look at it. He opened the bond fully, not to dominate, to share. The lawbearers were flooded with experience they had never processed before. Human history, human struggle, small victories, massive failures, compassion born from weakness, strength born from care. They felt what it meant to choose morality without certainty, to stand without guarantee of survival. The ancient entity shared its own perspective, eons of loneliness, endless guardianship, fear of chaos, the burden of being worshipped and feared but never understood. For the first time, the lawbearers faltered. This configuration is unprecedented, one said. Aaron lowered his hand. Exactly, we didn't break balance, we changed how it works. Another lawbearer spoke, slower now. The bond should have erased the human. It tried, Aaron replied, didn't work. The entity SHOULD have dominated. It didn't want to anymore. Silence spread across the clearing. The planet waited. Finally, the central lawbearer spoke. State your claim. Aaron took a deep breath. I don't belong to anyone, he said, and neither does it. We choose to work together, not as master and tool, not as God and servant, as partners. The lawbearers examined the bond again. What they saw unsettled them. It was stable, not through force, through consent. This arrangement cannot be controlled, one said. Aaron nodded. Welcome to humanity. The entity spoke then, not with ownership or command, but clarity. I release my claim. The words echoed across the clearing and beyond, rippling through the planet, through subspace, through every system that had ever feared the forbidden spring. Gasps echoed in distant chambers. The bond remains, the entity continued, but it is no longer possession. It is alliance. The lawbearers withdrew their light threads. Balance is maintained, the central one declared, though uncertainty lingered. Monitoring will continue. With that THE Chinese letter in the sky closed, the lawbearers vanished. The forest exhaled. Aaron collapsed onto a stone, exhausted. I really hope that counts as a win. The entity's presence softened. You defended me, it said. You were hurting, Aaron replied. Seemed fair. No being has ever done that without expecting dominion. Aaron shrugged weakly. Humans are weird. The spring's light dimmed to a gentle glow, no longer forbidden, no longer hungry. Across the galaxy, laws were rewritten. The Covenant lost authority they had claimed for millennia. Other species began to question long-held assumptions about power, control, and humanity. Stories spread. A human drank from the forbidden spring. A god whispered ownership. And the human said no, not with violence, with choice. Aaron eventually left the planet. not as a conqueror, not as a prisoner, but as an ambassador between worlds and something far older. The entity remained, no longer alone, and the galaxy learned a truth it could never unlearn. Humans could stand before eternity, hear it whisper, "You belong to me," and answer calmly, "I belong to myself."